The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by NHL Center Ice. Follow the teams and players you want to watch no matter where they play. NHL Center Ice is part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack.
Welcome to the Rogers TV International Women's Day special. So International Women's Day is an opportunity for us, obviously, to celebrate women, how far we've come in breaking barriers, celebrating women and how strong we are and how determined we are and how we are an inspiration for each other. And today on the show, I have four beautiful, amazing women who have done really well in their careers and also in balancing their lives. And we'll be getting into that as well. So I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves. Let's start with Audra. Audra, tell everyone who you are.
I am Audra, and I'm actually the women's head coach at Ontario Tech. And I've been coaching for about 20 years. I got experience from grassroots level all the way to professional. And I've played at a pretty high level as well, semi-professionally. And so I've gained a lot of experience in that world, the sport world. So I'm really
beautiful. And Ontario Tech is soccer. For those of you who are unaware of Ontario Tech, okay, that would be exciting. We'll get into that further. Heather, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. My name is Heather McManus. I'm currently a VP of HR for a technology company. I've been in HR for about 15 years, and even in that time, seen a lot of kind of changes in within both the work world and culture as a whole, especially for women, which has been really exciting. So looking forward to chatting about that today.
Beautiful. And something you taught me before the show, which is so cool, the new head of HR or VP of HR is called head of people. I think that's pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a sexy name. So we'll get into more about your role there and the different trends that you've seen. Christy, tell us who you are, what you do.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Christy Lynn Pankers. I am the Fire Prevention Officer with Scugog Fire and Emergency Services. In this role, I oversee all of the department's fire and life safety education and inspection and enforcement activities, and I respond to emergencies alongside Scugog's firefighters. I'm really excited to be here today, especially because of recent involvement with Fire Service Women of Ontario. I've just become a member of the board of directors, and I'm really looking forward to getting more involved with the organization and blazing the trail forward for other young women to follow.
Yeah, love it. All right, Leslie, introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Leslie Valaket. I'm a principal owner of Visbits Inc., which is a graphic design marketing firm servicing clients in the city. I've been doing that for about 20 years now. Prior to that, I was in the corporate world for about 10 years and did a little switch once I had kids. And I'm a spearhead to a cheerleader for all women to follow their dreams and their heart. And yeah, I'm happy to be part of this panel.
Beautiful. So for me, I went into entrepreneurship because I wanted to figure out how I could be home with my kids. The drive wasn't, I want to be an entrepreneur. It was like, how can I make money so I can be home with them? Leslie, what was your drive to become an entrepreneur?
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. With the support of my husband at the time, so I didn't have any financial pressures, but I just had the pressure of being a good mom, and I didn't want to lose watching my kids grow. Well, my kid at the time, but I had two. But yeah, that was my spearhead for it. And I wanted that flexibility to be able to be there for them and not come home at 7 o'clock and spend an hour with them and watch them go to bed and lose all that time. Yeah.
Now, for me, guilt came up within me a lot. Anytime I was working on the business, I was like, whoa, I should be spending time with kids. When I was working on the kids, feeling like I wasn't good enough with the business or as a wife. But you've been so successful in what you have done. So did you have that guilt coming up, and how did you overcome it? How did you work through it?
I don't like guilt. I don't like it as just a human being, but of course it comes up. It's just our natural inner core. But being in a family with just my mom and my sister and I, so it was 3 women. I don't even think I had an animal that was male. So I was raised to be a strong, independent woman, and my mom was very fortunate enough to teach me many skills that I use to this day, and I found that very inspiring. So for me, I released the guilt by providing to my kids sort of a mirror of what I would like for them as well. Does that make sense? Like, I wanted them to see that it's okay to make choices for yourself, because I want them to make choices for themselves as they grow up and get on into the world on their own.
Beautiful. Thank you, Leslie. All right, Christy, I understand that you've been interested in firefighting for a long time. How old were you when you were first thinking about being a firefighter?
I think I was interested before I knew that I was interested. So growing up, my dad was in the fire service. So he was a firefighter through the ranks and recently retired as the fire chief of Kawartha Lakes. And my mom was an educational assistant with the Durham School Board for about 32 years. So when I was little, I actually really wanted to be a teacher. I loved school. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. But at the same time, I remember so often being at school when the fire trucks would come and my dad would come do presentations. And I was so proud of it. And maybe a little bit nosy. I don't know if that's the right term. I liked to know what was going on. What were the calls? What was dad up to? Like, I was always so into that. But I didn't realize that fire prevention was a thing. So when I was in high school, after growing up in the fire hall, like I call myself a fire brat sometimes. So I grew up in the fire station, and I was in high school. I wanted to do a co-op placement. And that's when my dad said, well, you already want to be a teacher, so why do co-op at the high school or elementary school when you could try something else that might change your mind? And he was obviously team fire. So he encouraged me to reach out to the fire prevention division in Kawartha Lakes, where I ended up doing co-op. And I worked with the public educator, which is when I learned that there's basically a teacher for every fire department. So the public education side of firefighting is very much teaching, but people of all ages. So I got involved with that. I still wasn't convinced. I went to university. I studied communications. I kept geography in case I needed a teachable subject later on. While I was in university, I reached out to the Ottawa Fire Services, asked if I could do a placement with them. I saw an opportunity to maybe learn a little bit more. And that was when they asked me to attend their female firefighting camp, which I did in 2015. And it's called Camp Fit, Female Firefighters in Training. And to be quite honest, I never looked back. So that was when I realized that I didn't just have to go into fire prevention. I do love it. That's my biggest passion. But that was a week of trying on the gear, carrying the tools, working out alongside Ottawa's strongest female firefighters, and realizing that I can do that part of the job too. And the rest is kind of history. So that was really it for me. Again, I think I didn't realize how interested I was in it when I was little. But here I am today, having grown up and followed in my dad's footsteps.
Beautiful. It seems like you had a lot of empowering experiences to keep building you up and preparing you for the role. That
Absolutely.
sounds amazing. Okay, Audra, so you've been in sports all your life, right? Did you have any female role models that empowered you to move forward within soccer or sport in general?
I did. I mean, like most of my coaches were males. So I grew up in Montreal, and throughout my career there, it was all male coaches. And it wasn't until I actually moved to the States, and I did a couple of years in prep school where it was my psych teacher who was also the soccer coach there. And that was the first time I had a female coach. And she was the turning point for me. I don't think I recognized that because she of the gender that was the impact. She just saw me for who I was, and she was so encouraging and supportive and just really facilitated my growth in the classroom and on the field. And I just, at that point, I think that's when I started to realize, wait, I didn't have a lot of female coaches. And I think it was because there wasn't that many in the system. And so that was my first experience of having a female coach that really kind of changed my life. And then I received a scholarship to go to Clemson, where the head coach was a female as well. And then transferred, and again, the head coach was a female. So now that I kind of see this pattern, somehow I just kept, without even realizing, I think most of my experiences after high school were all female head coaches. And
okay.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Okay, so I have a question for you now. Do you feel like as a female, whether you're in elementary school, high school, university, were there enough opportunities available for you to participate at the level that you desire to participate in?
I mean, at the time, I thought they were, right? Because you only know what you know at the time. So at the time, there was provincial programs, there was the national program. When I was 15, I was training with the national program, but that was our full national program. I never thought at the time that there's youth national programs, U15, U17, U19. Like I just thought the national program. But obviously as adults and looking within the system, having one full national team, well, obviously that's not enough, right? So there was opportunities in the sense collegiately, but again, when I went to Clemson, they were there for maybe 4 years. Now looking back at the traditions of so many other schools and programs, 4 years is nothing, right? So, right. And looking how the game has progressed now, no, I don't. There wasn't that many opportunities. I think I was lucky because I was in a top tier of players, so I felt I had opportunities. But if you weren't in a top tier of players, I don't think there wasn't many opportunities as there are now. The game definitely has grown.
Okay,
it's good.
Okay, so at least the trend is going up, which is great. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to get back to you, Audra, because there's some more questions I want to ask, but I want to go to Heather right now. So, Heather, being the head of people, do you have advice for women who are striving for those executive positions as to how they should be moving forward in that job search?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think looking back at my career, it never occurred to me that either there was kind of gender gaps in the workforce, that I may be potentially at a disadvantage as a woman. It never occurred to me. So I kind of just pushed forward and asked for the promotions and applied for the jobs that maybe looking back were a little bit over my head. But what's interesting in the workforce is women are definitely more likely to hold back and self-select out. So that means they'll either look at a job and they'll read through it and say, you know what, I'm not qualified. I'm not even going to apply for that. They're not necessarily going to ask for the promotions, ask for the raises. There's so many factors, I think, contributing to that. But that's definitely one trend that I see that I think it should be hopefully seen as something that's empowering for women, that we can go for it and we can kind of push forward. And if we're not believing in ourselves, then obviously no one else is going to. So I think that's a really good starting point.
Beautiful. Have you seen more women in executive roles throughout your career?
Absolutely. Even in the last 15 years, there's been such a shift. And I think, gosh, we're so lucky that we've come as far as we have in 2022, that not only is it obviously acceptable, but it's very much encouraged that women have a seat at the table, and we're obviously seen as equals, and that's encouraged. But I think one of the things, again, that holds us back is obviously there's family obligations, there's cultural norms and societal pressures and things like that that are also impacting both women and the way that men view us in the workplace. And it's not necessarily a men versus women situation. It's kind of, we're all in this together, and we all need to figure out how to move forward and better understand each other, that we can keep bridging those gaps that happen from that gender perspective.
Heather, do you think there's enough opportunities within business to help women to be able to balance the work and the family? Or do we still have a lot more growth to do there so that balance can happen?
That's a really good question. And I think there's obviously, again, so many factors contributing. I think we have to look at, even all of us in this room probably were raised in more traditional families. Women didn't work as much. If we did, it was more traditional role. So that's part of the place that we have to look at, and sharing those family duties and responsibilities. One of the positive progressions within the business world that is seen is also more acceptance to those work-life balances, to those responsibilities from a family perspective. I think 15 years ago, if you said I have to leave early to pick up my kids, that probably wouldn't be accepted. But nowadays, it's very normal and accepted and appropriate for men and women to be doing that. So I think we also have to keep in mind that we can't hold ourselves back in doing that. Like, we deserve to be able to have a strong family life and a strong work life. And if we hold back in fear of either being judged or not being able to succeed because we have those dual responsibilities, that's also going to, I think, further hold us back. And Jackie, earlier, I think you mentioned us having to teach and educate or maybe I mentioned that, teaching each other about some of the things we need. And I think that's where we can also educate some of our peers and say, listen, I am going to do X, Y, and Z and leave early, or have other responsibilities outside of work, but that doesn't mean it's going to impact my role, and I'm still going to be here doing my job. So a lot of it comes down to that education and understanding each other too.
Right, and creating more flexibility in the workplace. So if I have to pick up the kids, and then I'm going to be working into, maybe I'm going to do a couple hours at home in the evening, having that balance. I think COVID has changed perspectives about that a little bit more. There's a little bit more, I would like to know from you, but I feel like there's more flexibility around the workplace now because of working from home.
100%. I think it's really opened up kind of everyone's eyes about what those pressures actually look like, especially when kind of daycare and childcare centers weren't open or accessible. The unfortunate thing is, I think women were probably impacted more during that time when there was that need for someone to kind of take over more responsibility. It tends to be women that do that. Therefore, they're typically going to sacrifice their careers a little bit more. Men, typically their identity comes a little bit more from their work and their utility, whereas women, it's a little bit more family focused or multifaceted. So we definitely have to be careful of some of those subconscious societal pressures as well that just naturally happen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Heather. Leslie, I want to throw it back to you. Do you have any advice for women out there that are considering entrepreneurship and motherhood and how to make that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say go for it. 100%. So many times we live in fear of not being able to provide, fear and not being able to be a good mother and juggle it all. But if you don't actually jump in and go for it, it's never going to happen. So my best advice is keep with routines, keep as if you are going into a job. So, get up early, deal with all of your kid stuff as if you were going to be commuting and going into work, and sort of set those boundaries of your routine, whatever it works for you. For me, it was just doing that. It was getting up, it was showering, getting dressed. And everybody always says, oh, you can go into your pajamas. No, you can't. No, act as if you're part of the entire world, and you're able to juggle your jobs or your requirements of your business within the parameters of what is needed for the kids. So so you can run out and pick them up if you need to. And yeah.
Now, something that I faced is that even though I was working on building my business, my partner at the time, because I wasn't making the same amount as they were, that the pressure was on me to do that traditional stuff. So not only was I putting in maybe the same amount of hours as my partner was, but the responsibility was placed on me because I wasn't.
It's not only just about the amount you're bringing in or anything. It's just there's an assumption if you're in the home, then you take care of everything home as well. And I had some obstacles with that as well. And it does get frustrating. But I find that women are stronger, not to stereotype, because we're trying to get away from the stereotyping, but I find that we are stronger to handle sort of coming at different directions. And we are able to sort of manage those things on our own. I mean, I was just raised as a strong woman. But when you're not, it's important to keep the communications open, and it's not the sole responsibility of the person that's at home or the mother to take on all the responsibilities of the children. It's important for the child to have it from all angles, not just, spousal, like the mom and the dad, but it could be grandparents or aunts or uncles or friends. Like we're all in this together. I think that's important too, is to create the community around you. So when you're in entrepreneurship, you have to have the cheerleaders beside you. You can't have the naysayers. I went off Facebook, I don't even know what year, 2015. It just didn't serve me well. And I wanted the close knit community around me that was going to cheerleader me as well as me to them. As you know, Jackie, I'm a cheerleader of you as well. So I'm a cheerleader of all women that want to sort of, go for that inner core, what's inside of them, and just go for it.
Thank you, Leslie. I think it's important on those both ends, in creating that community of people, surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you, as well as speaking your truth and setting those boundaries. Audra, I want to set it over to you. So your team has been doing extremely well. I'm just bringing up my notes here. Sorry about the papers rustling over here. So the women's national team. Can you tell me about that? Let us know how the women's national team is doing and the impact it's making of women in sport.
Yeah, so historically we've always done quite well. But recently there was a shift. There was a shift when probably the last 10 years where the mindset of the players and the staff, there was a more vision and a bigger picture with purpose, and using their platform, right, to really change and advocate for what women need in sport. And although we've done so well through history, we just recently won gold. And I say we, like as if I was on the team or coaching, but we is because anyone in the system in Canada should be advocating, whether it's like you play the sport or not, or if you're a hockey player or not. And it's that mentality where we won gold medal. Like, that's exciting. And so it's time now for people to recognize that this is a sport, not just soccer, but hockey. We need to invest in women's sports. There's proven data that viewership is, on the rise. The numbers are there. Everything's there. We just need to invest. And I think the platform's there, media is there, everything's there. But why is there not a domestic professional league? Because that domestic professional league translate into more participation in the grassroots, longevity, keeping players past university. So I love it. I'm in university stream. I love what I do because it's more than just a sport. So it's empowering and creating the future and those skills for females to move on either in the corporate world and in their career, or pursue it professionally as a player. But to pursue it professionally as a player is not in our country. It's overseas, and that limits our opportunity because then we're international players, foreign players. So
the next thing we need that domestic team.
Yeah.
Let's bring it on. Female power, we're bringing it on. Thank you, Audra. Christy, I want to go back to you. So being in a field that is mostly male dominated, so being surrounded by men every day, all day, is that just a bonus, or how is that experience for you?
You know, it's funny, as everybody's been talking, the gears have kind of been turning in my head. I've been very fortunate. My experience in the fire service thus far has been very, very positive. Not to say that I don't know women who have not had the same experience. I have very close friends who do not just kind of mesh in with their station like I've been fortunate enough to do. But with all things considered, I would say there's certainly been times where I feel that I do have to prove myself maybe a little bit more than if I were like a 6 foot tall man versus a 5'2" female. But I was raised to just kind of go after what I believe in. Never once did I think I wouldn't be able to do this because of anything my parents said. And then my fiance actually is in the fire service too. So he's a firefighter in Vaughan, and it's neat for me. We're just getting married in June, and I'm kind of at the point where I've established myself and my routines in my career prior to starting a family. And the way it works for us, I work day shift and my fiance Parker works the 24-hour firefighter shift. And our roles are very much reversed to what a traditional family would have been 10, 15 years ago, in that he'll probably have more time at home with the kids, and I'll be the one rushing home after work to enjoy all that extra time kind of after those school and work hours. So the support from him, it was paramount. Like, that really helped me and encouraged me to keep going for this, because I knew if I had the support at home from him and from my parents previously, then to fit in here at the station wasn't going to be an issue, because I just try to fit right into the role just like any one of the men would. And the men that I work with here in Scugog are quite a bit older than me, just the nature of our service. They were hired years before me. And I joke that when I got hired here, I just gained a bunch of bonus dads. They always give me life advice. They support us through everything. And then a bunch of young friends too. So in our volunteer firefighters and in my volunteer fire station back at home, all of our best friends are from the fire service. We joke when we all get together that it's probably pretty safe because it's just a whole bunch of firefighters hanging out. So my experience has been really, really good. And I'm very thankful for that and that support from everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay, Heather, we don't have a lot of time here, but the question I have for you is, so lately I've been applying actually for some jobs, and there's some positions where I think I might be more likely to get that job. What would you say to someone who is thinking that way when we want to empower women to go after what they want?
Honestly, my advice, and I think what's interesting is I think everyone in this group said the same thing at one point. Honestly, just go for it. You can't second guess yourself or doubt yourself. We all do deserve the roles that we're going for, and you have to honestly just fight for it and go for it. And I think everyone said that today, which is interesting. So
beautiful. Yeah. Go after what you want, not what you think you'll be hired for, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Ladies, I am so grateful to be around this amazing female power. Thank you for all that you do and the inspiration that you're sharing, the amazing role models that you are to girls, to women out there.
Thank you.
So great to have you all on.
Thanks, Jackie.
All right. So thank you so much, ladies. So that is a wrap to International Women's Day, the Rogers TV special. Take the time on International Women's Day to be, first of all, in gratitude for how far you've come and to celebrate your achievements. You're not the same person who you were 10 years ago, who you even were 2 weeks ago. We're constantly changing, evolving, and growing. And when you can inspire other women out there do it. When you're in gratitude for other women inspiring you, tell it. Tell them. Say it. So thank you so much. All the best. And I guess that's it. That's a wrap.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.